Hi, my name's Glenn. This is Karen, my wife, and this is our bus. Hello everyone, so it's nighttime and I'm working on the bus. Of course, what else would I be doing? So I'm working on the bus tonight and I'm planning on installing my air conditioning, heat pump head inside the bus. And this is the front destination area, or destination sign area. And of course on the right here I've got all my wiring that's still kind of hanging there, not really totally buttoned up just yet. I don't know if you can see it or not, but anyway. So anyway, and so that's part of the project here with this whole destination sign area, that this needs a little bit of cleanup anyway. So the rest of this is pretty much open. I've had these foam pieces just stuck in here, just temporary, because they were just laying around or came in a box or something. I stuffed them up in there here a few months back. But I will be insulating this whole area. I'll probably just take these and put them back in there and maybe spray foam them in place. So this is the top of the windshield. The part that actually is structural for the windshield, from what I understand anyway. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the blower head up in here, whatever you call that end of the heat pump system. So I'm going to mount that up in here, and the only thing that's really structural in here that I can even mount it to is just this bottom here. So these are like some 1.5 by 1.5 bars. They're either aluminum or steel. And so I'm going to build some brackets here that's going to rely on both of these. The whole head only weighs about, I don't know, 25 pounds. It's not very heavy. I've got it in this box right here. And this actually is this is a Pioneer mini split system. It's 115 volt. It's a 19.5 SEER. And I think I've got about almost $1,100 into it, with a 33-foot line set that goes to it. And so this head is actually smaller than what I thought it was. I thought they were going to be about 3 feet long, and so it's actually 32 inches long, and so that's going to work out really well. And so probably what I'll do is, I've got the old door to that destination sign sitting here. I took it off, just taking the screws out. So for now, because I'm probably not going to have this thing all finished just yet, I'm going to cut this door off so that the sides will still be covered up on each side and the wiring will be accessible up there. And then that unit will sit right in the middle here. And those units require a certain amount of air around them, in the top mostly. And of course the air blows out of the bottom. So what I'm going to do is build a structural background for it, for the template to mount to, and so that can mount up in here. And then the condensate drain, I'm thinking will go along here and maybe down into the cavity in the corner of the windshield here. If I can get that tube to go down inside that and come out outside, obviously not in the junction box but outdoors, I'll do that. And if I can't do that, then I'll just run it out, run it across and down outside the bus somehow, and that'll just be part of the challenge of putting this thing in, because you do have to compensate for the condensate line. And then the line set, of course, it'll go back in the old air conditioning bay in the back. I'll utilize the top part of the next bay over, or 2 bays or whichever it is, over as it comes along here. I'll have to come up through the floor, probably around this point here, which is behind the main steering axles. Come up above the floor, across, and then I'll come up between the 2 windows here, come up and over and into this cavity, and then of course it'll hook up into the back of the unit. So then I'll just build something over that, you know, block it in with some wood or something where everything will be accessible and that sort of thing. So what I plan on doing tonight is trying to build this this bracket for that thing to sit on. And what I'm hoping to do is to build it so that I can actually swing this unit out at least enough to get in behind it to make those connections, because the connections kind of take place behind it. So you got to be able to get in behind there, even though it's kind of in somewhat in position. So that's going to be the only challenge of it. Because of the length of the line set, I can bend the tubing out and over in this direction. The line set could possibly still reach it and not have to worry about swinging it out. But if I can swing it out, then I shouldn't be so concerned about maybe not having enough line set. 33 feet should be enough. I pretty much measured it out, and I think I'll be okay there. So I do have a couple of options of how that terminates up here in this destination box. So that's what I'm gonna work on tonight. I'm just gonna pretty much work on this bracket assembly for the template to mount to, and anyway, and so we'll see how that goes. It'll be kind of fun to build that. I like doing that kind of fabricating and stuff. So keep on watching, and we'll see how that video goes. Thanks for watching, everybody. So this piece is obviously narrower than the unit. So if I build something that's going to swing out, I can't just put it on this. I'll have to build a framework that the entire framework can swing out. And this represents, right here represents the very rear bottom corner of the unit, pretty much within about 1/4 of an inch. So one of my concerns would be getting in and out of the bus, people hitting their head on it and stuff. But it looks like it's going to be pretty much back far enough where that really isn't going to be much of a problem. I mean, it's something that people have to kind of watch out for anyway. So it's not going to go very far in the room. The only thing is trying to finish this thing with it set in. It'd certainly be a lot easier if I just had something flat here that was just blanked off and it was just hanging out here in the front. But then it would be out way too far. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to set it back inside at least a couple of inches. Right there would be about 2 inches in from the front of this, and which would then be straight up from the corner of the steel here. So that would be the simplest way. And so I think I'm going to start putting together some aluminum framework for that. That'll mount to that steel and eventually to this, and to where it can swing out just enough to where I can get behind there to make those final connections. Okay, so I thought I'd show my progress up here in this destination compartment at the front of the bus. So I've got these pieces mounted up here. I used some about 2¼ inch or so by maybe 1.5 inch channel aluminum. Then this piece down here is about 2-inch channel aluminum. So these pieces here just fit right over this. These are screwed, these two pieces here are screwed down to the framework. And then of course I just made a triangle out of it, and you just fit one inside the other and put screws in. And this thing, let me tell you, this thing is 100% solid. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and just put a piece of plywood right across this, and then mount my plate to that, which will be something like this out here in the middle. So this way I can adjust it up and down or whatever. I'm wanting to go as low as I can so that the bottom of the unit actually sits right on top of this edge here. So I don't have any trimming to do on the bottom. And then on the top, where it has to get air anyway, I made these pieces extra tall so that I can put a shroud in here or something just to go across, paint it black or whatever, maybe go up and towards the front here, maybe even attach it onto the front lip, just so it trims it out nice, paint it black so you can't see back in behind it, and then that filter that's on top should be accessible. But at any rate, this plywood that I put across here, I'm going to put it across, and I'm going to put a hinge on this side so that I can just swing that out just enough to get in behind this thing, and then swing it back and attach it, and then that way I can service it and things like that. So before I get too far on this, I'll go ahead and insulate the window. This window's not worth keeping. It's got a BB hole in it or something up in here, and I'm not going to fix it. It looks fine from the outside. I can put something on it to dress it up or whatever, if I ever even do. And I'll insulate the ends, insulate the top and the back, foam this stuff in, and just make it nice and insulated up in the front here. So just so you know, if you ever work on one of these buses, this piece here, even though this piece looks identical to this piece, they're both painted black, they're both the exact same size, they're welded to each other, but this front piece is probably mild steel. The back piece is stainless, so it won't even stick to it. This piece here is stainless. This crossover member here is stainless, and they welded the mild steel to the stainless steel. So that was kind of a surprise. And then this part here, for some reason, has this extra tray down in here. That's all mild steel or whatever kind of steel. And I just found it very odd that these two pieces look identical. One is regular steel, the other one is stainless steel. So that made it pretty tough to drill and to put screws in. It just seems like whenever you're working on one of these buses, all the stainless steel is so difficult to work with. That's what's nice about the old Eagle buses. They were, for the most part, just carbon steel frames, at least that I'm aware of, and so they were pretty relatively easy to work on. These MCIs are very difficult to work on because of the stainless, but it does make it nice. Anyway, so this is really solid, and I think it's going to work well. I'll get myself a piece of plywood and put it on here and insulate this whole thing, and mount that head up there, and I think it's going to work really well. So I'm pretty tickled about that. So I'll finish up this video with the progress on that. So I'm getting ready to drill the holes to route my coolant lines through. These are my coolant lines. They're basically looks like about a 1/2 inch copper and a 1/4 inch or whatever. And then of course I've got the wire that has to go there as well. And so these are going to have to be routed through here so that I can avoid this axle. So it's going to be above the floor. So what my plan is here is to, of course, the unit will mount right here. So I'll run my coolant lines through here, come out probably above the window, cut a 2.5 inch hole here. Just go ahead and run it across, down between the windows, across the floor. Once I get past the axle, I'm going to go ahead and drill through the floor, which I've already started here. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I'm drilling a kind of an angled 2.5 inch hole through there. And what that'll do after that is it'll go through, it'll come out under here, right about here, and it'll go across here, go through right here, which will end up on this side, right about where these wires are, across here, down lower through here, because this has kind of a lid in it that's lower than the rest. And then that'll end up in this bay right here, so it'll come through just about right in here. It'll come over, loop down and into the unit that'll be right in this bay. So that's going to be a pretty good challenge putting all that in. But I'm hoping to go ahead and do that here this evening, even though it's getting kind of dark. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so I believe I've got this condensate drain part figured out. I thought the hardest part would be running the 2 main AC lines, which I haven't ran yet. But the condensate drain has been quite a challenge. So I was originally going to run it across inside the destination sign box, out and down, and then through the junction box and everything outside. But that's the problem with that is I'd have to have the tubing out here where it would show, and I thought about putting in like just a conduit here and just pull the pipe out of here and slide it down into a conduit, go down and back out again. So I'd have the pipe exposed in 2 or 3 places, and I just don't like that. So what I did was I ended up going, or I'm going to go in this direction instead, to the passenger side of the bus. And so I'm going to go across, and behind here I can get the tubing to come out here where I've removed this side panel that was back in here. Anyway, it was up in here, and so I removed that, which gets me into this cavity behind here, so I can run that piping out here down alongside these wires and down right into this cavity here in the dash above the door hinge, and then across. And the challenge will be here is getting it into the old AC system here. Now I'm using this only for defrost, it's not used for AC anymore. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run the tubing down across, probably behind here, and drill a hole right here and get it into this spot here. And that round hole there is the condensate drain for the rest of the AC system that is of course no longer used. But I've checked that tubing out. That tubing is in good shape. It comes out under the front of the bus here. I don't know if you can see it here with the video, but anyway, it's this line here ends up and it goes down through the bottom of the bus. So being that that's in good shape, I'm gonna get that tubing to go into that old line. So So that'll be a bit of a challenge drilling the holes and everything. Once I have it installed, I'll go ahead and put together a video on what I did. But that's where I'm going to run that tubing, and hopefully that'll work out good where I don't have to see it out here in the driver's area. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I think I've got this condensate line figured out here. It's pretty hokey, but it works, and it'll be better once I complete doing more of this interior. But anyway, so I've got the line installed here, ready to connect on. Goes across in the back there. You can see that. And I ended up having to come out of the fiberglass part and then back in behind this fiberglass panel. Well, anyway, now you can see it. Anyway, so I had to take all this apart and drill holes in it, and all this fabric's coming off, and obviously this all just going to need a bunch of work anyway for finish work, but for now it works. So it goes inside this cavity behind this panel and down, comes out down here, goes across, down, through, and it drops into the old condensate drain, which eventually exits out of the bottom of the bus. So I think that condensate drain is going to work, and in the process here I'll be installing the rest of the system, so I'll hopefully make some more video on that. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so a little progress here on the air conditioning system. So I've got this is the air conditioning bay, as you can see with the screen, and it was almost wide open. There's a big framing member coming down through the middle on each side, and then pretty much around the perimeter. So basically what I did is I took the last ceiling panel that I had, which is this right here. I peeled the carpet off of it. It was like that, and peeled the carpet off. I glued it down with this 3M 4200 marine adhesive sealant. So it's glued all the way around the perimeter, and then also on all the framework in the middle. The reason I did that is just so it doesn't vibrate and get to banging around. And then I also put some stainless steel bolts through with nylock nuts. Those were left over from the wheelchair door that I took out. I still have a whole pile of those bolts. So, and then I glued down these two pieces of aluminum here on each side. They're sitting on framework here, 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 and here. So the underside, or the hole that was in the bottom, basically, if you can see here, it was wide open. It had these fins where it let air in for the old air conditioning in it. Anyway, so this is the unit here that I'm installing. It's getting kind of windy out here, but so you can see the feet here have holes in them, and on the front and back. So I've cut the holes in this aluminum here so I can reach in and put some nuts in there. They also came with these pillow blocks, which I'll use and try to figure out a way to do it to get as least amount of vibration as possible. So these are just some 2-inch by about 3 or inch and a half by about 3-inch aluminum tubes that I had left over from stuff just from years ago. And so I think this is going to make a pretty good base. This hole here was already in the aluminum, but I'm going to go ahead and just put some mesh over it, and I may end up having to put even more holes than that in here to get the same plenty of air, but I don't know. This is a pretty big doorway here, and it's going to get air over the top and the bottom, around the side. It may be enough air anyway. If not, I can put more holes, some screen, whatever it takes to get as much air into this thing as possible. So this piece of rubber here, this is a piece of rubber with like an aluminum, it's rubber over aluminum on the edge here. This has kind of a channel here with the soft rubber edge. This was around the edge of the aluminum where it went through the ceiling for the emergency access doorways or hatches in the roof of the bus. So where the aluminum met those, it had this rubber around the edge. So I was able to take that rubber after I cut my hole in the side here. I was able to take that and fit that in around the hole where I'm going to run my AC lines through. So I put it here, and I also put it over here where those AC lines will go through. So it's a nice, it just fits right in there like it was made for it. Of course, I had to, you know, cut it and fit it and stuff, and it's going to make it for a really nice grommet to protect the edges of that hole. Another thing too, I had to buy, this is aluminum here, this is stainless here. So I had to run down today and buy a carbide tip 2.5-inch hole saw, just so I could drill one hole. I probably could have done it other ways, you know, again, drilling a whole bunch of little holes and that kind of thing, or I could have just ruined one of my other hole saws to do it, but I went ahead and bought a $26 hole saw just so I could drill that one hole. So I got that done. So I've got the hole down there going through into the AC bay. I've got this hole here going from one bay to the next. I've got this hole here for going up through the floor. It's drilled at an angle so that I can take those AC lines and just run them right through here and just transition right up through the floor, and then just keep going in the same direction once I get up above the floor. So I think that is about it for that. I still have yet to run those lines. I'll probably do that tonight. So after I do that, I'll make some more video to show how that went. So just making progress. Okay everyone, so I thought I'd go ahead and show just a little update as to where I'm at here on this mini split install. So of course it's nighttime again, and so I've got the AC lines coming in. They're running across the top of the bays down below there until I get to this last section here, which is of course where the wheel is. So I had to come inside for that. So I come in across here, across the floor. So that'll be tucked up tight up against the wall. Then it comes up here next to the driver's seat, and that of course will push up tight to the wall, and anyway, I'll have to build a box around that, and that'll all be fine and dandy. It's just one of those evils that you have to do. So anyway, so it goes through the hole there at the front above the windshields, and I gave it enough of a kind of a loop there so that I can have some flexibility when I make this final connection. So just to show how this works, I've got the unit hanging here, and it looks very nice, and I'm sure it'll work fine. The only thing is it's a little bit just kind of, it's not really loose. I mean, it's hanging in the bracket. It's just that it's all plastic, and it's not really tight. I just hope it's not a problem bouncing down the road. I do have it sitting close to this edge under here, and I could probably even put something there to bring that right down to the edge, just to give it a little bit extra support. So I'm not sure what I'll do with that yet. If anything, maybe it'll be just fine the way it is. So I've got my panel fastened to this board back behind it here. So I've got the two hinges on this side, which I have an additional screw in there as well. So if I need to service it or get to it, I just have to pull these screws out, which keep in mind that it's not connected yet, and so I'll show that as well. But basically, I just take these screws out here, take these screws out, and the unit will hinge, if I get the screws out all the way, Oh, that's the one that was grabbing a little bit. Anyway, so the unit is hinged, so it'll swing out. I've got it, my condensate line here fed in there, which I'll change that as well. That just comes right off the bottom. It's just going to lay right in this trough here and connect to this plastic line here. Maybe you can't see that, but anyway, it'll connect to that plastic tube that eventually goes outside. So the unit just swings out here, and it makes it pretty nice for making that connection on the back. So I've got the lines right there. As you can see, one is of course shorter than the other, and that's how it is coming off here. One's shorter than the other. It was a 33-foot line set, and apparently those don't come pre-charged. This one here I can push back a little bit further back if I need to compensate for this length here, so I don't have to cut and flare these because the lengths are already just about right. So basically I can close this, I can make the connections on the back, shove it tight up against the brackets that I made here. The screws are just for the added support for the because the hinges really aren't adequate just by themselves. Then that squeaking, of course, that goes away once it's all in place. The squeaking is just that aluminum rubbing on that styrofoam there, which I'll take care of that. But anyway, this came out pretty good. I think it's all going to work just fine. I've got the outdoor part of this pretty much figured out as well. I've got the lines out there. I don't have any light out there right now, so I'm not going to show that just yet. But the lines are in. They're ready to hook up to the unit outside. I still have to hook my power up. I still have to run my power wire, for that matter, that goes from the main unit to this head unit inside here. And then I have my nephew's going to come out and get this thing going and charge it all up for me. So hopefully it'll all work fine. I think it will. It may not be enough for the bus. One thing I forgot to mention early on in the video is it is a 12,000 BTU air conditioning unit, the 19.5 SEER. So it should do a pretty good job for the most part, but I may end up adding a 9,000 BTU unit in the bedroom of the bus. So okay, so before it gets too dark, I just wanted to do an update here on where I'm at with this outside stuff here. So I've got the AC lines ran, the line set ran, and what I've done here is I've got it coming out through the floor here. You can see that coming across and then through into the next bay. Of course, I've got that all lined with rubber and stuff in there. And so what I've done here is I mounted just a pipe clamp. I'm going to go ahead and zip tie it to that in the middle here. That should give it plenty of support. Same thing over here, except I've already got some insulation in here and stuff. So anyway, so I went ahead and just mounted this one right to the steel. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up and zip tie it to that again, right about in there, whatever. And then I also ran my smaller wire that goes to the that goes from the main unit to the head up in the front. And so this is the unit here, of course, and this is the bay. I've got this pretty much covered up now. I've completely covered it, as you can see. I don't remember if I covered that already in my other video or not, but and I've got these holes here where I can go ahead and bolt the feet down to these pieces of tube, which I have yet to do. But before I did that, I went ahead, this rectangular hole was already in the aluminum, so I need air in here anyway, so I went ahead and had some stainless steel expanded metal mesh that I went ahead and put down there. And I went ahead and cut another 4-inch round hole here, and there's a big wide stainless steel frame right across here, so I'm not going to put anything here, but I figure I'd put these back here in case this thing does need more air, and then I won't have to try to reach behind the unit after it's installed to put that in. So if it does need more air, I can always add some more vents over on this side. Anyway, so, but with the way this thing works here, it should get plenty of air with it blowing out and then sucking in air around it. I'm not sure about how it reacts when you're actually driving down the road. You know, maybe these extra holes that I'm putting in it here will help to cause air to actually travel through it. But I have yet to really read of any particular problems with these mini splits being installed in compartments such as this. Anyway, but I've got my coolant lines here ready to go. The unit here, it hooks up here, you know, so it hooks up down here towards this bottom end, and then I just have to get the power in here. And these do come with these nice little rubber feet that I'll use to bolt that down and give it some pad. This back one here is about 1/4 of an inch lower than this one, so it makes it tilt back a little bit. So I'll put some additional rubber spacers in there that I have, and that should make it nice and level. And then I'll also put some kind of a support in for the top of this thing, so that it's not swaying around, you know, swinging around on its feet. So I'll give it some support on the top somehow, and I don't know, probably when I get this thing completely hooked up, then I'll share a video on that. But for now, I'm going to have my nephew come out, charge this thing up when he can. So I've got Miles, my brother-in-law here, or my nephew-in-law here, working on hooking up the AC system. So he's here messing around with that, and hopefully he'll get that all hooked up okay. He's got his test stuff on here, his vacuum pump and everything. And he's an excellent technician, aren't you, Miles?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, see? Yeah, he even says so. Anyway, so we'll get that all hooked up, and hopefully this thing will work good. Okay, so just to finish up this video on the install of the mini split system, Miles here, my nephew-in-law, he just finished this thing up, and from what he was saying, that all the system checks out, and it checks out even better than what he expected, I guess. And everything's all connected up, and it actually works, and it's really quiet too. I don't know if you can hear that or not. So it's nice and quiet, right? So I'll go up front here. Remember, this is the Pioneer 19.5 SEER. Hi, Don.
Oh, hi. I'm all fired up.
Yeah. Anyway, so the unit up here is all hooked up and working. Feels really nice. It's really quiet. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but man, it is super quiet. And I have yet to finish this top part here. So I'm pretty excited about that. We went ahead and set it. It's pretty hot in here actually right now. I've still got some windows open and stuff, so I'll close those up. Anyway, see how well that does. If this 12,000 BTU unit doesn't cut it for the whole bus, which I'd be pretty fortunate if it did. I kind of doubt that it will. But if it doesn't, then I'll probably install another one back here in the bedroom up above the bed, a smaller, the smallest they make I think is about a 9,000 BTU. So if I need one of those, I'll certainly put one in. But this is going to get me by pretty well for now, and so I'm pretty excited about it. So it's all functioning, it's all hooked up and working, and it's working very well. That's the Pioneer 12,000 BTU 115 volt mini split. And no, they do not sponsor me. That's it for this video, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And certainly this is a good, I think a good mini split system for any bus conversion. So take care.